we're back. Sexual assault allegations come out, and their stock price went from $90 to like $45 in a day. And that's when Microsoft said, yeah, by the way, we're going to buy you. And then they've been in, they're just about there. They've been able to win against the FTC and the FCC, and now they got to like win in British court. And after that, it's done.
Are they trying to claim it's getting the monopoly or something?
Right. Both the U.S. courts and the English courts were like, yeah, that's too much power in one company. But both of them screwed up and were like, it's because of your cloud computing. Nobody else is doing it, and you guys have too much power in it. But the problem is with the whole cloud computing gaming thing is so few people are actually utilizing that tech that it really doesn't matter. It's not like trains. It's like the one way people could safely, quickly get across the country back in the 18s when the robber barons had train monopolies and the train monopoly. There's like 25 people who on any given day use xCloud. And yeah, Microsoft is absolutely kicking ass in that area. But have you ever, for instance, Tucker, logged on your phone, used your phone to play some Xbox games?
No.
No, it's there. It works, and it's really cool. I've done it a couple times. Like I'll be out walking, and I'll take a really long walk, and I'll pull my phone up, and I'll play like Enter the Gungeon or whatever, Darkest Dungeon, those games.
Enter the Gungeon.
Enter the Gungeon. Yeah, I'll like do a few rounds on that, and it works really well. Like there's almost no lag, and it doesn't even drain the battery that much. It's because
How does it work so well?
they just have a ton of Xboxes linked up on a server, and because Xboxes have almost always just been PCs, same architecture, just a different OS. Probably just have a lot of processors all linked up in a server somewhere. It's how they like Crackdown 3 was supposed to be them showing off how they do it, because Crackdown 3's multiplayer was powered just by the cloud. We all know Crackdown 3 was a terrible game, but that was the idea. I don't know where we're heading, Tuck. There's one more side mission here, which is father and son, which I guess we'll head for, but this next one, Science of Deduction, you ever notice you can't go on the map and like explicitly can't go to log and go to like show me on the map. You have to go find it yourself here on the map.
Yeah.
There's father and son. Oops. There we go. There's foreign machines. Anomalous signal. Mission we're on is Science of Deduction. So, there's no Science of Deduction on here. Is it a main mission now? Oh, wait, it's a main mission. Oh, okay. Well, we'll do the last side mission for this DLC. Father and son. Let's go.
What made Crackdown 3 a bad game again?
One, it's worse than Crackdown 1. Crackdown 1 was badass. Your Uncle Derek 100%ed Crackdown 1, for instance. I played the hell out of it. It was just super fun. We all know also, I know it's a generalization, but it's pretty much a well-established fact. Microsoft was at its peak in those early 360 days. It had done a lot right with the Xbox. It came out of the gate swinging, had two major competitors, and managed to make real inroads and actually beat the GameCube and stuff. And even though the GameCube, we all know, is like gone down in history as one of the best ever systems, like, okay, they're legit. They're on the map. They're going to actually compete, and they're making good games and a good system. And then they had the 360 and Xbox. They brought Xbox Live, and you don't have online gaming like it is today, especially on consoles, without Xbox Live, without Halo. And they just kept making really excellent third-party games. One of those exclusives was Crackdown. Crackdown was like, hey, be your own superhero. And this is when like Spider-Man on Sony was really big. And you go around, you collect orbs, and you literally do start to leap tall buildings and fly like a plane, and you can pick up cars. And then it had a Havoc physics engine in it, so everything was like destructible. Take down buildings, you could put gravlocks on cars and then make them explode, and they'd spin around like nunchucks, and you could take out half the city that way if you wanted to. And it was super open-ended. There were like 4 enemy gangs, and your job, and they'd basically taken over the city. The city's overrun with criminals. So they genetically alter these like Justice League style cops to try to take down the criminals. And from there, the game was really yours. There were tons of cars. There were hundreds of possibilities as far as how you chose to take out the enemy gang. And it's a great game. And it broke a lot of ground. And then I don't know what happened, but there was a delay and they did make a sequel. But like a lot of sequels around this time, Microsoft was changing its footing because the Wii came out and it was a huge hit. Sony had the Move and Microsoft had the Kinect. And
I tried Crackdown 2.
Yeah.
I feel like it's a pretty good game.
You feel like it's what?
I feel like it's a pretty good game.
It is a good game. It is a good game. I went through and beat that a few years ago. And I know it didn't get much recognition back then because it was basically Crackdown 1. But it was what we expected out of a sequel at that time, which is you do everything that the first one did right and you try to do a little bit more. You know, these days we'd call it like probably an expansion. But it was still good. It had like, it introduced the paragliders, it introduced parachuting, the physics was still there, the big destructible environments was still there. It added more cars and you could like add cars to your spawn pool and stuff. So it was cool.
Oh yeah, as your driving skill improved, you unlock new vehicles. So I just spend play sessions just driving around and drifting in cars.
Yeah,
because the max level with driving is you get a tank.
And that was like always one of the funnest parts of that game is it did the RPG things where what you do you get better at. So you like to begin with you can barely even lift a baseball bat, but then by the end of it you can lift up a whole school bus and throw it over a damn mountain. Or like cars,
oh, wow,
like you were saying, you get a tank. Keep driving and racing. And then I liked stealing cars and driving them into the police station so that they become part of the.
Look in this. Turn around.
Where are you?
Look in here. There's a gun locker. Or a gun case. There's a whole lot of guns here.
A lot of dead people. They apparently had a braver stand in the military, except for that one pilot who can crash land a jet that she
somehow managed to outrun multiple robots while destroying some and writing down a note telling you where she was going because she expected you to come.
How was she flying for so long too? Because we came up like 2 months after this all happened. She's still like
she's been running on fumes for 2 months. That just shows how good of a pilot she is.
She's amazing. The whole damn DLC's just the writing, man. Okay, so Crackdown 2 was cool. It came out like 2 years after. Then the IP wallowed. Microsoft bought the IP and then they teased it at like E3 2010. It was, I don't know if it's quite that old, but it was ridiculously long ago when they're like, yeah, we're going to get a Crackdown 3. I'm pretty sure it was planned to come out on the Xbox 360 and it got delayed and it didn't come. It was like, it's no big deal. They're delaying it. It's going to be out with the Xbox One. And then it didn't come. And finally it was at the like end of the Xbox One's life cycle, I believe, that they finally launched it. Or like the beginning of the Series X, I can't remember. But it
was like 2019 when it came out.
It took like a whole decade. So it wasn't anything like Dead Island 2, where even though it was delayed really, really bad, it came out. It was actually decent, right? Isn't that the general consensus with Dead Island 2 is that it's not Fast Travel Tucker?
I haven't watched any videos reviewing it. I've only seen the thumbnails for videos for it. And everybody, it seems like there's some who are saying it's overrated and some who are saying it's okay.
Well, it seemed like the physics were cool. Like the discombobulation. Fast Travel Tucker to the Lilyhammer safe house. It's on the main world. We're actually done completely with the DLC. That was it. I don't know what we learned. Was it Last Stand? Fuck, I don't know. Sorry. Fudge. Before he became a successful singer and frontman, Barbros moved to Stockholm in the early 70s. Benny was born and raised on Himfall, more specifically the village, nested between blah, blah, blah. But he and his father, Eduardo, had fallen out in recent years, leading to Benny visiting him further apart. 2 months before the cataclysm, Benny started writing a letter to his father, kept carrying it around with him, but never finished it or sent it before it was too late. Brought with guilt and worry, he has been eager to cross enemy lines and go back to where he... Okay, well, his dad's dead, so... That's what we learned, his dad's dead. But it doesn't tell you that, like, yeah, oh man, you found he's dead. That's too bad.
There was the one short that we watched while me and you were doing, like, the 4 a.m. scrolling on YouTube before we went to sleep because we didn't feel like it yet.
All right.
There was like this one short we watched where there's Russians.
Oh, cool. So we're going to
Look up,
foreign
look over,
machines.
look at this hill. It actually looks pretty cool up here.
Oh yeah, this is always like the best thing of this game. You just so rarely get to see it. So Crackdown 3 was hyper delayed, and they hyped it up a ton. It was going to have new technology, never before seen technology, where they show the power of the xCloud, which was just in its nascent stage back then. They just wanted to show, I think, everybody that it was possible. And what happened was Phil Spencer just said, yeah, you're getting Crackdown 3. We're not letting them delay it again. And we certainly got Crackdown 3. It was a thing. And it was Crackdown 1, but worse. They would have been so much better off just saying they did a remaster of Crackdown 1. They would have sold more of it too. But they had to call it 3 when it's basically the same game that we got on the 360 in like 2006, 2007. In fact, in a lot of ways lacking. That Crobat guy on YouTube made a good video on it. And it's true. A lot of the time he does take stuff out of context, but yeah, it's accurate. Stuff that you could do in 1, you can't do in 3, even though you have 20 more years of technology, and it was pumped up as having this amazing physics engine where everything was destructible like Fortnite, which is a thing in the multiplayer, but they didn't actually make stuff. They made these blocks that make up the whole map, and it has this auto lock stuff, so it's like 2004 style. And yeah, you can blow up these empty polygon blocks like you're in a testing dome. But you can't actually go around the world of Crackdown and like tear down skyscrapers. None of that stuff's destructible. You couldn't grab lock cars. In Crackdown 1, I used to like to make a whole barricade out of cars and just sit there and trap like 50 cars and then blow them all up. Crackdown 3, you get more than 2 or 3 cars in a roadblock, they just all despawn.
Just the game can't handle it.
Yeah, even though it should absolutely be able to handle it. We're talking about, you know, running an Xbox One X or a Series X, and the 360 could do it. So that game, it's an IP that just has to die now. It's unfortunate because it was definitely one of the cooler franchises that Microsoft had a hold of, and it's just another one that they just... Wow, I just got wrecked.
What happened?
The Soviet robot up here has a minigun on it, a Gatling gun. It tore my shit to shreds. It was
Ones down here had the same thing. I don't think you noticed though. He just ripped you apart.
Dude, yeah, now that other one with the minigun out there is going ham too. Microsoft basically had like all these amazing games. We're actually being very successful with the 360. Fable did well. Halo was in a really good place. Gears of War was in a great place. Forza has never really lost its footing. I tried the new Forza recently. One. And they had Crackdown, and all these damn franchises. And they like moved to the Kinect and put all this money and all this focus into it, and they just lost all of it. And it's taken them since 2012 to even attempt to start to rebuild it. And that brings us finally back to Starfield. That's why Starfield's considered a big deal. We know that Infinite fell short, but we know that Microsoft has spent tons and tons of money now on, and they have I really like Phil Spencer. He's honest. He is a gamer, like trying to get it back, trying to figure out how they put that genie back in a bottle and get that 360 glory back, because they pretty much, they were actually beating PlayStation for a brief moment. They had huge control in North America. They didn't have control, but they had a big market share of the North American market. They've never really done that well in Asia, which is a huge deal because you really need the Asian market to be successful, but they definitely had their place and they lost it, and now they're trying to figure it out. And everything that they've brought back, from Halo to Gears, and now they're finally like bringing back Fable, they're doing what the fans have asked them to do, which is bring these franchises back, make them great again, make it worth having an Xbox again. None of them have really hit the mark all the way. And I want to say, to be totally fair, I think a lot of people have underappreciated some of these games. Gears of War 4, I had an excellent time playing through that campaign. I thought it was super fun. There were some epic set pieces in that game where you're like in a mech, in this giant ass mech suit fighting the giant ass locust swarms. That game had a really well made campaign. It told a good story. It managed to resuscitate that game. And I thought the campaign was, I don't want to use this word lightly, but it was like just perfectly paced. The way they did the checkpoints, the way that every little part of the game felt, it was like Doom. Doom has a really well structured and paced campaign. One of the strengths of the Doom campaign is they're really well made. Gears of War 4, now it's just called Gears, was that. And I never even got, I know they made it like an open world game, and I don't know what happened that they had like perfect damn reviews. They've had that a lot lately, but it's like no one seems to give a shit. They changed Horde into Hive Busters, and that seemed like a cool idea, but for some reason less people play Gears 5 than played Gears 4. The multiplayer, Gears 4 multiplayer, was, I put a shit ton of time into that. Like, Gears of War used to be my buddy Seth and I's jam. We were in the top 100 in the world in Wingman. Used to play it all the time. Loved Gears 3 on the 360. Your Uncle Derek was a massive Gears fan. Read all the novels. Played through the campaigns. Did all the collectibles. I don't know why the magic didn't seem like it was there for Gears 5. And,
Okay.
yeah.
Oh, whoops. I'm gonna let you finish this, and I'm gonna ask you a new question.
Well, the next thing's Halo, so go ahead.
Come up with 5 games that was on the 360 that they put on the new generation of Xboxes.
Well, they brought back Gears. See,
So
at
Gears.
the beginning, the most disastrous time period for the Xbox, the near death of the Xbox as a franchise, Phil Spencer even said that they were talking about ending it, is the Xbox One. They had that awful, infamously bad, worst E3 of all time for anyone. Where they were like, yeah, there's going to be DRM, and you can watch ESPN on your Xbox. And they were showing that the Xbox was a cable box. I'll be fair. Like, I've gone, I cleaned up and put a new hard drive, my old original Xbox for Xbox One before I sold it. I put a lot of time on that Xbox One. Yeah, it's ugly inside and it's different, but there's some cool stuff to it. HDMI output, the optical audio, the fact that it could be a cable box. The stuff it was the right idea, but the wrong format. Especially E3 to be like, yeah, it's a Roku. It was a Roku before there was a Roku. It was a Fire Stick before there's a Fire Stick. And it had some like really cool media features like picture-in-picture and like Spotify implementations. Listen to your music, play your game. And I know that doesn't answer your question. I'm sort of defending that 360. It had really bad advertising. And what games did it have? Like Kinect. They continued the Kinect. That was the biggest mess up of all. So
Because that explosion was actually really loud.
that's your biggest mess up on the opening salvo. So you want to talk about the opening of the Xbox One, what you had was Halo 5. Like, that's the only one. You said 5 games that were on 360 that did or didn't make it to the one.
I'm talking about like from 2019 up. Games that came out on the 360.
When did the Series X? 2020, right? Was PlayStation 5 Series X? So by 2019, I mean, the Xbox was under Phil Spencer. So they had the return of Gears. Forza never really lost again much ground. Halo 5 was still really going strong, which is what I was going to talk about. Halo 5, like Halo 5 is actually really good. And it has a really neat campaign where, yeah, I understand it was underwhelming in the story department in a lot of ways, but that is a very solid game. The multiplayer is really good. It was well put together. They continued to support it for years and years and years. And it really did try to tread some new ground. That's my issue with Infinite, is it doesn't tread anything new. It's kind of like a bad facsimile of Halo 1, and it certainly doesn't do any of the stuff that brought the Halos into generation like Halo 5. Sort of like modernized and redid the pistol. They had the squad stuff. Halo 360, though, Fable, obviously, they're trying to bring back, even though I don't know how well that's gonna go. You can probably help me, Tucker. You grew up on the 360. You're an Xbox. You're an Xbox guy too. What's some 360 games that were really great? Don't think too hard, because there's a lot of amazing 360 games.
Battlefield.
Yeah, but that wasn't an exclusive. You're right, Tucker, in the sense that any big multiplayer game was Xbox dominated that space. It still has the hints that was the people who play Xbox. It's still a lot of those players who bought it because Xbox Live was the best. People forget that many people forget that PlayStation Network was hacked, and they did not have a good online system for years. Now it's all kind of the same, but yeah, Xbox Live was undoubtedly the leader base. So Battlefield kind of counts, but Battlefield obviously is like a shell of whatever the hell it. Now,
Ever since 2047, it's basically dead.
it's really sad too because it got good again. Battlefield 1 was the shit. What was the other one that we put?
Battlefield 5.
Yeah. Battlefield 5 had that really stupid ass advertising where the girl with the robot arm wins World War II and beats them or whatever. But shit, that game's fun too. It's just basically a reskin of Battlefield 1, but it was fun. And
World War II, but it's World War One.
Right. 2042 is just more hyper monetization bullshit.
They've already done everything they could in the past, so they tried to make a future, but
Completely preventable too. That's what's so sad, because I guess they have fixed it now, and I guess it's like some even say it's good now, but like Fallout 76, it's so hard to go back, and you've already broken the trust. And if you had the ability, then it either needed delayed, or why did it launch so bad when we know they've done it right in the past? They put so many unnecessary changes into that format. And the biggest thing they advertised is the fact that there'd be 150 people in a multiplayer game
yeah, that's what they said.
on the new stuff. But because the maps are so sprawled out, you don't see anybody.
Make the maps like Battlefield 5 size. That way you can fight somebody, and it actually seems like two armies are fighting each other.
Right, that's what makes like the Battlefield game so good. Is you got these maps, and because they're pretty tight, it seems like you're in an actual battlefield because there's
You're fighting something a lot bigger than just 16 other players.
yeah, right. Like it might only be 30 people, but because the maps are small and it's like spaced well, it seems like you're in a whole battle. It seems like the spawn points are close, so it just seems like soldiers are marching into the field. And
Hey, you hear that?
what was that?
Firebird, I think.
Find the water tower where the resistance. This is the whole like we're gonna become mole people storyline. Let me